So this weekend I had quite the experience with the orchestra, and we played a really heavy classical concert that involved about 10 hours of rehearsal and concerts. And during the concert, my right arm started to go numb. Now, that sounds really serious, and it is, but unfortunately it's not uncommon among musicians. Nor is it uncommon with myself, as I had been dealing with this maybe about 4 years ago, and it's mostly resolved, but it hasn't completely. So these three fingers, especially the tip of this one, tend to be numb, and that's because the radial nerve gets compressed. This is your radial nerve, and here is your ulnar nerve. So the deal is, I knew after everything I've been through that the problem didn't come from my fingers, and it wasn't carpal tunnel syndrome, and it wasn't that my wrists were tight. I mean, that all contributed, but it wasn't the problem. I knew the problem was coming from my neck. And a lot of times when you have nerve issues, especially if it's in both hands or both arms or both legs, check the spine. However, in my case, I knew I had cervical spine damage. And so I thought, okay, what can I do in the middle of this performance to alleviate something? So I had less than ideal posture. Instead of sitting up tall and balanced like I normally would, because I knew my neck was not strong enough on this side to hold the instrument because of all the years of nerve damage that have not been fixed yet, I leaned back and let the weight, I didn't put my arm on the chair, but I leaned back and let my arm be buffered and kind of held by the backrest of the chair. So that in itself alleviated something. So don't be afraid to do what you need to do in the moment when something like this happens, because I knew I had about 30 more minutes of playing to go out of this piece. And you can't just stop and rest I knew wouldn't fix it. I mean, it helped, but then I also knew I could have prevented this by taking my own advice. So I'm going to show you what I've done now that I'm home. So first thing I noticed is when I'm stretching my neck, because I knew the problem came from my neck. And the reason I know is because I have nerve damage between C4, C5, and C6. I'm sorry, 5, 6, and 7. Anyway, it's in here. And so you can see on a X-ray that the discs are compressed, and that's where the radial nerve originates. So especially C6, C7, that whole area right back in here, that's where the problem originated from before. So, and I also know that traction feels amazing. It's the only thing that immediately restores feeling to these fingers. Not that they're completely numb, but just FYI, if that's you, look to the neck first, okay? So I also play flute this way. I don't, I have to turn to the left and tilt my head to the right, especially when I get tired. And I noticed that even doing this, it got worse. And I thought, you know what, I bet this side of my neck isn't strong, and I've been working on all these other muscles, neglected my own neck, okay? So that's something to deal with, right? So first thing to notice, which side of your neck feels tight? And you might not know until you stretch it. So what I want you to do, you're gonna pull one side down, put that arm behind you, take your opposite hand and pull straight over. Does it feel tight? Does it feel good? Okay, put your hand above your eyebrow and go up. Now to me that feels crazy tight. And in fact, when I relax it, it almost wants to seize. So I know it's providing all the stability for my neck. And so relaxing it is gonna not be good for my body. But it does give me the clue that this is what's weak and this is what's causing the problem. Because this doesn't hurt and this doesn't hurt. This is what bothers me. Isn't that fascinating? So I know that that's not gonna be exactly what I need to do. So what do I need to do? Well, let's find out what else is tight along the chain. Well, first off, we can strengthen the neck, but we're gonna find out what else is tight along the chain. So what I found out is my chest on the right side is crazy tight. So I've got several different things that I can use. I use a Jaku massage gun, and I use a lacrosse ball. And also I want to show you this thing. And this is called a body back buddy. And I like using this part on my upper traps, which I found out. So if you put it here on your upper traps and you pull down, this thing, when you're pulling, will take the weight off your arms and you can relax. You can stretch your upper traps, right? So just finding that trigger point gets it to relax a little bit. So we can try that. Oh yeah, that feels good. Okay. So we do know that the upper traps are tighter than they should be. So that's also a clue, okay? When it comes to your neck, your chest. Check out this guy. It's called a Jaku. It's a massage gun. A lot of people have these. And so what I think you should do what helped me is you're gonna swap out this attachment, swap it out for the flat one, okay? Put it on a higher setting. When it's on a lower setting, it's gonna be really intense, and when it's on a higher setting, it's not gonna penetrate as deep. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna find, so like if you put your hand underneath your collarbone and squeeze like this, you're gonna find those are your pec muscles. And mine, when I put it on high here, oh, right there, and I'm gonna use the opposite hand, are really, they're really tight. Woof, it's all those push-ups I've been working on doing. Right there. Woof, don't forget to breathe and relax your shoulders that we just relaxed. Then you're gonna put your arm in a doorway. If you don't have this, I mean, obviously don't do this. You can also use a lacrosse ball against the wall. But if you do have one, you can do a chest stretch in the doorway. So you put your arm at 90 degrees in the doorway, squeeze your shoulder down, twist away, and use this at the same time. So it's gonna look like this. All right, so I'm gonna squeeze, twist. Actually, I'm gonna use this first. Woo, squeeze my shoulder blade back. So squeezing it this way, and then twist away. Oh yeah, and you don't wanna do this for a very long time, right? So just let all of that go. Oh my gosh, that feels amazing. Right there. And you've got so many trigger points in your chest, like over by your collarbone, over here. You've also got them over here. But you know what's funny? So I play flute this way. This style isn't tight. Isn't that interesting? So the reason it's not tight is I've been strengthening these muscles, but the reason this is so tight on this side comes from the nerve. So the nerve being so, like just being compressed is causing a contraction in here. So even though I'm doing this, it's not that these muscles are weak for me. Nerve entrapment is a really real thing. And so when nerves get squished, they don't like to be squished. And so they can cause all kinds of tender points. So when the nerve up here gets squished for me, my lats get tight, my chest gets tight, my triceps get crazy tight, but they also get weak, which is really frustrating. So it's really important to not push through pain and instead to find out where that nerve is being entrapped and get it to relax. And if you can't do it using any of the stuff that I'm showing you, find a good physical therapist who can dry needle. That should really help. There's also some other modalities you can try. You can try NKT, neurokinetic therapy. Well, you can, but what I meant was ART, which is active release technique. And it's a type of massage that can really help that kind of issue. But for me, dry needling is the thing that works because it's been going on for so long. And if you've got chronic tightness, you have to get the muscles around wherever that nerve is being squeezed. You've got to get them to chill out because otherwise it's just going to perpetuate, right? So then, so we did that. So now what? So what I found today is when I did external rotations, the numbness got worse. So the nerve can come down here and it might innervate with the some of the rotator cuff area. And you know, I'll be honest, I don't remember exactly where the radial nerve goes right this minute. I should remember this, but I don't. So I'm not going to say something stupid and get called out for it because I forget, honestly. But I can tell you what I feel. And when I did external rotations, it got worse. The numbness got worse, like right off the bat, right? And so, yeah, not a fun thing. So I knew that that was not going to work for me. So I'm going to lay off the strengthening for now, but later on I'm going to come back. So tomorrow I'm going to go take an Epsom bath right now, but tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to try some strengthening exercises and I'm going to show you what those look like. So we're going to start really gently with isometrics, okay? Then you can add band work, you can add any kind of other resistance that works for you. But for me, like I said, this was tight. This is what's weak. So again, if we just stretch this, my neck's gonna have no stability and this could get worse. So we don't actually wanna do that. What we do wanna do is strengthen the muscles on the side of my neck. So we're gonna start with strengthening the SCM. So to stretch the SCM, it goes from here to here. So when I turn my head, it pops out, right? It flexes your head, it turns you side to side. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to, let me think how to do this. So this would be a stretch. If you put your hand over your eyebrow and go backwards, that's the stretch. What I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna stretch. I'm gonna come back and I'm not gonna go back because that feels very unstable to me. I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna press forward. In fact, I'm gonna press forward on this side. So ever so gently, 3, 2, 1, relax. So then I'm gonna press forward again and I'm strengthening here because I'm looking to the left, I'm doing this is the motion. I'm pressing against my hand, okay? You can also go this way. Press, 3, 2, 1. And it's not more is better, so make sure you're not really jamming your head, okay? Another one, you can go down this way. This is for your upper traps. You can also go this way. Your upper traps lift your shoulder. They also flex your head this way. So we can go that way. Okay, relax. And instead of doing this, because I know things can tend to be compressed in here and I don't exactly know where the problem is, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to gently press against my hand, see if that feels fatiguing. I'm going to do each of those for maybe 5. Notice as the symptoms change. If I get any kind of fatigue, that can help. Okay. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do some nerve flosses. And nerve flosses are one of my favorite things that are super awkward and they don't feel fantastic, but boy do they help when you need them. So for the radial nerve, the thing is nerves come from here and go to here. You're going to start with the shortest distance and go long. So we're going to start here and go out. And I don't feel any tingles in my palm, that's fine. Okay? So next thing we're going to do is we're going to tilt the hand down. And we're going to tilt down. And that still feels okay. Okay, so now we're going to lengthen by tilting my head this way. Okay, so we're going to go here, here. That's a bit much, so I'm going to take that back here. There we go. Nerves don't like to be stretched, remember. So we're flossing them, which just means we're gently gliding the nerve, okay? You can also do them, it's a little too much on the shoulder if you've got other issues. You can come down and back. So I'm doing this. Come down and back. And I did this in the concert just to give myself some relief. And there's Levi. And that really did kind of help a little bit. Just kept things gliding, kept things moving, okay? And you can come up, that's a bit much for me. So coming up, straight back, right? Because remember, this is all tight. So this doesn't put a stretch on the chest, and this does, and it's tight. Something about. So this is not an exhaustive thing, but it's a way that you can figure out, okay, what's going on if I've got numbness and tingling in my fingers, and relaxing all of these muscles is not doing the trick. How do I figure out where it's coming from? It's not a complete tutorial by any means, but remember, we have to think about what's tight and what's weak. And so once you start being able to put those things together, it can really help. So give me some of your ideas and love to hear what you think. And before actually I quit this, I just realized I left out the forearms. So I've got this handy device called the Arm Aid, and I started using it last night. Actually, I started using it yesterday morning, and I swapped out the attachments. I swapped out the attachments from this guy to this guy because this is just too much. Usually it's fine, but right now it's not. And the muscles, this is really interesting. When I go to play, my flute is like this. So it rests here, which means my hand is flexed backwards, right? So I'm like this. I'm trying to see if you can see. So the muscles here, right there, where that muscle, my index finger right here, where it flexes and my wrist flexes, oh gosh, this is so tight. But I also noticed on this side, these muscles right in here are crazy tender. Well, I'm having to hold so much of the instrument, and I hold it this way, not this way. But maybe I was doing some of that because I neglected my posture because everything was getting tight and weak. So how you can use it, because you also have to remember, like, the nerve goes from here to here, so it could be compressed in multiple places, right? So like I said, I swapped this out for a different one, and I actually need to swap it out for the foam one because it's just so tender. Now, I'm not a big fan of this rubbery one if you don't have any oil on your skin because it's too grippy and it just sticks, right? But I'm going to roll back and forth until I can, right there. Oh, so you want to find right in the middle of wherever that tender spot is, and for me, it's right up here. So you don't want to roll on a bone, you don't want to roll on a joint. Oh, it's right there. And I'll be honest, actually pressing here, it's tender here too, which makes sense. And I can feel those. So, move your fingers around, you'll feel, they do, your finger, your hand, your flexors do this, your extensors do this. I said it backwards. No, they're going to get called out for that one too. But anyway, you want to roll the whole area around. Oh gosh, right there. Looking for tender spots, right? Yeah, right there. And you're gonna hang out when you find that tender spot, hang out, hold it, press on it. Should start to feel better, okay? But this one, right in here, so right between the radius and the ulnar bones. Radius and the ulna, not ulnar. So right between here, this is tight, which makes sense because I was doing a whole lot of this, right? Whole lot of that. So for my guitarists, this is a big one for y'all too. Violists on the left hand, right? So you want to roll back and forth, look for that tender spot. When you find it, yeah, I really need the other attachment for this. Right, oh gosh, there it is. So hold right in the middle and just hang out, okay? So don't be afraid to spend some time with this. If you're watching this, would love for you to get one of these. It's called an arm aid and it comes with a bunch of different attachments. You can go to their website at armaid.com and use code MUSICSTRONGYT and get 10% off, okay? All right, thanks. Thanks for joining, and I'll come at you with some other stuff a little later, but thanks for joining. Let me know how it goes.